For a dementia resident to remain emotionally strong and stable, firstly, they need to accept that they are living at the unit in order to be able to adjust and acclimatise. So how to enable them to accept this fact? The important thing is that the dementia resident needs to understand why they are living at the unit. So it needs to be explained to them as empathetically and as kindly and as patiently as possible why it is that they are living there. It needs to be explained to them about their memory problem and whatever specific instances has led them to coming into the dementia facility, whether it's losing one's way, not being able to find one's way back home, leaving a pot on the stove, whatever health and safety issue it is, that needs to be explained to them, that it's become unmanageable to live at home. And as a result of that, they've needed to come into the dementia facility. I mean, it takes a lot of explaining, and usually a lot of explaining. It can take 2-3 weeks before a person will settle at a dementia unit. It's an extraordinarily stressful time. But the relative or the primary relative that's doing the explaining, often the power of attorney or the main support relative in the city, it just needs to be gone through. Sometimes it only actually needs a couple of explanations, but mostly this needs to be repeated quite a number of times as to why the person is there because of their memory problem. It's not because they've been abandoned, it's not because you've divorced them, it's not because you've left them, it's not because they have a psychiatric problem or a disease or an illness, or that they're in jail or incarcerated or imprisoned. All these things go through their minds, and they verbally say this all week to the staff, calling out for the first few weeks when they're so, stressed and concerned. But if it can be explained in a similar way, like if all friends and family have the same explanation, it needs to be, the same line of discussion from everyone concerned who's speaking to the dementia resident, so it's not confusing. So just come up with the 2 or 3 things that have been the main points as to why the person is in the dementia facility and explain that to them. And often the person will know that their memory has been failing them, and they will know that there's been problems, especially standout memories, like if they've lost their way and they've been found by the police and taken to the police station. Sometimes they'll remember something like that because it's a strong standout memory. So if you refer to that and trigger their memory of that, then that will enable them to understand that, okay, if there's that problem and I'm getting lost and I can't go out on my own, all of which you can explain to them, that you haven't got security at home to be able to, enable them to be at the home when you're going out to do other jobs or activities. It's not set up with the facilities to be able to manage for memory loss and direction orientation loss. When you've explained all this, then hopefully the person will settle down and accept it. I mean, once they know you're there to support and everything is set up well for them, they've got the resources and the nice room and they're warm and well fed and everything's at hand, they will adjust in time. But it is difficult initially. But if a lot of work can go in the first couple of months to enable them to settle in these ways, then they can remain strong and stable. And it is important for them to remain strong and stable emotionally. You really don't want the person escalating into anxiety or, becoming depressed, because it can then really take a long time to get out of that. So the more that you're able to, support them and encourage them and be there for them and with them and all of that. In fact, sometimes with the group also, if they can connect in with friendships and with the group at activities, that's an enormous help if they can join in the activities. Because what often happens there is when the workshop discussions happen, sometimes the residents, for example, one of the residents will say, my husband's died, for example. That's a common one. And then all the other female residents will say, well, yes, my husband's died too. I mean, because of course a dementia unit is full of elderly widowed ladies with Alzheimer's. So most of them, their husbands have died. So, and with that, they then get onto the topic, and often it tends to be a discussion like, oh, well, you know, my husband's died, so now I'm living here and we're in this nursing home. And they like it to be called a nursing home. And you know, it's good food here, and it's warm, and it's good shelter, and we're probably lucky to be here compared to other people that are lonely and cold in their homes. Now, if the group comes up with this sort of approach, it's a really positive perspective, and it's something that as a relative and as the diversional therapist can be encouraged that yes, you're warm, you've got a good room, you've got friends, it's good meals, you know, well looked after in this nice nursing home, compared to being at home where you're often cold in the winter and it's difficult cooking, and friends and family aren't visiting as much now that you're older, your friends are passing on. So dementia residents really like this positive perspective to be pointed out to them. In fact, they like to be positive. Not only that, that they make an effort to be positive, a real effort, because they know that if negativity comes in, it very quickly takes them into dementia stress and dementia blank territory, which is a really stressful experience, and they don't want to have to. I mean, they will be going through that part of the time, of course, when they're not able to retrack their thinking. But the more that they can remain positive, the more that they can focus and understand and concentrate, they're much happier in that space. And they make an effort to do that. And the more that they make the effort to focus and concentrate and understand, the more emotionally stable they will be. So it's interesting work, and you can work a lot with your parent and being able to enable them to understand and focus, and encouraging them to go to the workshops. And accompanying them there is a really good idea, because if they've got your company at the workshop, that same discussion that is being facilitated at the workshop, that it's a nursing home, that you know, that they're friends, that they've got good food, that it's a nice place to be, that same conversation you can facilitate with your mother when you visit, and that sort of retraining the thinking in the positive side of things, which always helps with remaining strong and stable. So I've written these two books, The Resident's Voice and The Resident's Rise, both from a dementia unit, and The Resident's Voice, How to Help People Coming into Dementia Facilities, and The Resident's Rise, more on how to manage living in a dementia facility, both accept and manage and improve quality of life, even living in a dementia unit. So thank you for your support and your subscriptions and your likes. It's just fantastic. I'm following everything and enjoying that, and you know, it's great being able to get this platform up and running. And please subscribe, those of you that are finding this work interesting, and pass on the links to those that are working hard helping people with dementia. Thank you.